So, recently I replayed Demon Souls for the PS5 and I thought I'd take the opportunity to talk about my time with the game. Demon Souls is the first of the Souls series, and from what I've read online, it wasn't well received upon its original release in Japan. Because of how brutal and unforgiving it was when it came to gameplay and exploration, a lot of folk were turned off by it. However, over time it grew a fanbase, especially with its releases worldwide, and of course without it we wouldn't have the series that we all know and love. The original Demon Souls for the PS3 is a game that I've not touched and I know little about, so this video will stick to mainly the PS5 version. Bluepoint was the studio in charge of developing this remake, and while you may have your opinions on whether they did the original justice, I think they did an amazing job. Since it was made specifically for the PS5 and not with the PS4 hardware in mind, they were able to make a visual masterpiece, a real stunning and breathtaking piece of art that managed to capture the haunting yet beautiful atmosphere of the game in full fruition. Areas like 3-2 Appalachia and 4-1 Island's Edge look great. Even the miserable environment that is the 5-2 Swamp of Sorrows is portrayed well visually, and of course the entirety of Boletaria Palace looks sick as hell. Demon Souls is a game that is slow paced in nature in terms of its combat, and it for sure takes some adjusting to, especially if you're already a fan of the series but came from one of the fast paced games. Regardless, I did love the methodical approach that you had to take. You really need to think about your strategy when you wander into a new level. Timing hits and blocks in accordance to an enemy's moveset gives you a huge advantage as opposed to just running into a room and spamming R1. Each hit has weight to it. It makes your actions feel real, and when you come out of an encounter it doesn't feel like a fluke, it doesn't feel like you lucked your way out, you'll have planned and prepared for that. In the ancient past, the world was plagued by a prior scourge of demons before the reign of King Alant. The Old One, an immensely powerful entity, awakened and unleashed devastating monstrosities, leading to the decimation of half of humankind. The Monumentals then divided the world into distinct regions, connected by archstones, to restore life where it had waned. There are 6 of these archstones. Only 5 of those, however, can be played through, as the 6th one has been broken down before we are even alive. Circumstances, though, we do not know. The Nexus, a hub between reality and death, served as a gathering place for the lost souls seeking to reclaim their bodies. And beneath the Nexus, there is a slumbering Old One who promised boundless prosperity to those who surrender to it. King Alant's ambition to bestow everlasting wealth upon Boletaria led to his awakening of the Old One. Instead of prosperity, however, the kingdom was engulfed in a colourless fog, driving its remaining inhabitants to madness. This leaves us with the world as we know it. I'd argue that the atmosphere in Demon Souls is absolutely top tier when it comes to the Souls game, with only Bloodborne edging it out. The world you immerse yourself in is one that is desolate, yet surprisingly gorgeous, the attention to detail apparent, with its jaw-dropping scenery that serves to complement the dread and unease that you'll face as you wander through each level. Seriously, there are so many times where I'm playing and I just have to take a moment to soak in the scenery, because it's just wow, the scale and just visual appetite that it has is amazing. Demon Souls, and just in general all the Souls games, excel at telling a story without the need to rely on the use of cutscenes. Instead, they leave pieces through environmental cues and visual storytelling, and give the player a chance to connect the dots, making the bigger picture clearer for them. It's a clever way of engaging with the player, making them feel more immersed with the world by letting them stitch the lore together through their own abilities. It would feel wrong if I didn't talk about world tendency when making a review for Demon Souls, so let's talk about it. World tendency is a pretty complex mechanic where your actions in each world have an effect on what happens throughout that world. If you die whilst in body form, your world tendency will shift towards pure black. But if you kill a boss whilst in that world, your world tendency will shift towards pure white. When you reach pure black, enemies get harder, but when you kill them, their rewards are greater. And when you're in pure white, certain places open and NPCs get quests that you can follow. Those were kind of the basics. World tendency is much more. It's a lot more complex of a mechanic. There's also character tendency, which is a whole other thing. Just know, however, that I did say before, but dying in body form makes your world tendency shift towards black. So because of that, a lot of people like to kill themselves in the Nexus so that they stay in soul form, which is something that's a bit it's a bit iffy because I know about world tendency, but say newer players, they probably have no idea unless they look it up. And if they die in body form a lot, then their world tendency will go towards black. Bad NPC could spawn, enemies become harder, it'll become a much more difficult time for them. I think that also ties into the reason why Demon's Souls wasn't very appreciated when it first came out. A lot of mechanics that went unexplained or were communicated poorly to the player. All in all though, I don't mind world tendency. It's a cool mechanic, that's for sure, but I'm glad it's one and done. They only did it for Demon's Souls, they didn't bring it back. I think that was a good thing. Hey, the one thing that's good about it is that it does add to the world, makes the world feel more developed and fleshed out. Demon's Souls offers a variety of environments, each with its own unique challenge and feeling. From medieval castles to nightmarish swamps, each area feels distinct and memorable, allowing for the gameplay to feel fresh and engaging throughout. I think my personal favourite levels would either have to be 1-1, the Gates of Boletaria, or 3-1, the Prison of Hope. This is because they are both fantastic in its design. 1-1 is an amazing introductory level to Demon's Souls. It loops back around in a perfect manner with shortcuts and items that hint at what might come ahead, like getting firebombs. Hey, you might need to use that against the boss. They even referenced it in Elden Ring with Stormbringer Castle, which is pretty cool. When it comes to the Prison of Hope though, I think that's where Demon's Souls is at its scariest. Due to the introduction of the Mind Flayers, those things were terrifying. The maze-like wandering and the atmosphere of the level just elevates it as one of the best that Demon's Souls has to offer. It is that good. I love when levels are able to use verticality to their advantage to just nail it home that this level is designed really well, and Prison of Hope does that. A few areas that I wasn't particularly fond of would be 5-2 Swamp of Sorrows and its predecessor 5-1 Depraved Chasm. The enemies in them areas were extremely annoying and obnoxious, and not to mention the worst poison swamp that FromSoft has ever implemented into one of them games. I can appreciate the setting and tone that they went for, and I can definitely say for certain that they exceeded in making the player feel miserable and tortured, but it just wasn't for me. Overall though, I definitely did enjoy exploring areas in this game. It really felt like a journey because the way they designed the levels, they have tight corridors with enemies that are perfectly placed so you can't run through them. It makes you have to go out of your way to explore every nook and cranny. You can't just run past everything like in the more recent games. Demon's Souls definitely has a unique array of bosses, and it does do a good job in making sure that no two bosses feel the same. However, they definitely were very experimental when it comes to the mighty foes that they had in these games compared to the later ones where they perfected their design. Though the bosses in Demon's Souls have a limited moveset and maybe aren't as challenging as some of the other ones in the other Souls games, I still think it's a pretty fine job that they've done. My personal favourite boss has to be False King Alarm. It's just like the perfect test of all your skills and abilities that you've gained up to this point. He even has a flipping soul level sucker that if that connects, then it ain't gonna feel good. Other honourable mentions for favourite boss would probably be the Penetrator, who has a sick design and awesome visually looking attacks, or the Flame Lurker, who also looks flipping amazing and is pretty hard for Demon's Souls standards. My least favourite boss would probably have to be Dragon God, because he was one of the main sickest things that you see when you start the game, and it ends up being a stealth level, which is pretty disappointing. The stealth is also annoying as hell, I won't lie. All in all though, I think Demon Souls is a really good game, and if you take your Souls glasses off, don't compare it to the other Souls game, just view it as a just as a game. It's really good, and it has good bosses, amazing areas, nice exploration, sick world. You'll have a good time with it, and I think it's definitely worth playing even now. Would I recommend buying a PS5 just for Demon Souls? I don't know if I'd go that far, but I don't think I'd go that far with any game, no matter what, because PS5 is pretty expensive. But if you do have a PS5, you should definitely give this a try. It's free on PS Extra, and it's pretty cheap if you buy it in a store as well. So that'll be me for this video. It's the conclusion, my Demon Souls review in 2023. I hope you enjoyed the video. I did quite a bit of scripting for this one, and also a lot of just off the top of my head talking. I hope it came out well. Leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you want more. I'll see you next time. Peace.